Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hi ladies and gentlemen, habari ya leo. Karibu sana kwa hii show. Happy Jamuhuri Day. Happy Jamuhuri Day to all of you. Happy Jamuhuri Day to all of you. Karibuni sana wandugu, wapendwa, watazamaji. Karibuni sana. I'm your host Jakes, the moderator. This is your host. This is your show. Welcome to this great conversation we are about to have. I don't know where you're tuning in from, but all the same, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Those watching me from afar, karibuni sana. Those at home here in Kenya, karibuni. Today was Jamuhuri Day, and this is Jamuhuri's special. Karibu sana wadau. Welcome to this fantastic evening's edition. This is Africa 24. I'm your host, Jakes, the moderator. We are about to have a decent conversation on the state of the nation, on the state of our country 60 years down the road. Yeah, 60 years down the road. A day like this 60 years ago, many say it's when men, after fighting, after our forefathers died, after those who came before us took to the struggle, yeah, took to the struggle to make a change of our country. They many lost their lives, but eventually a day like this, we gained our independence on 12th of December 1963. We gained our independence. So welcome to this show. This is a special edition courtesy of Africa 24. Zaidi ya yote ni juzi unanitazama ukiwa wapi? Karibu sana kwa hii show. Karibu tu sana. Welcome very much. We are about to have a conversation like no other. We are about to have a very fantastic, interesting conversation. So don't miss out. Please stick around. We have a great show lined up for you. This one shall be great, I promise you. This one is going to be very educative, very interactive, and it's for you, Wakenya. Thank you so much. We have this as a topic for today: the sufferings and pain that Kenya have gone through. Kenyans, that is. Well, I love my graphic editors. They at times do some interesting graphics, right? Wow, thank you so much, my graphic guys. Asante sana. Wadau, karibuni sana kwa hii show. This is your host. This is the show. This is the place. And Africa is your channel. Asante tu sana. Karibuni. Karibuni tu sana. Welcome. Welcome. This is Africa 24. Ndo hiyo tu tumeanza. Ndio hiyo tu tumeanza. It's only now that we are beginning the show. So karibu sana, juza wawili watatu kwa kulike hii video, kwa kusubscribe to Africa 24, and of course by sending this link to as many as you can. Karibu sana, karibu sana, karibu sana. Juza wawili watatu, karibisha wawili watatu, wacha tuwe na conversation. I'll be telling you why the topic. I'll be telling you why the heading. Right now, it's 12th December. Actually, it's 12/12. Now, this far as a country, we need to ask ourselves those deep questions. Where are we? Of course, we are not where we used to be, but have we reached where as a country we would say this is where we really wanted to be? You know, in so many sectors. Talk about education, talk about health, talk about what? Yeah, all those sectors. Are we where our forefathers dreamt us to be? Is this what they fought for? Where we are as a country, is it where our forefathers wished that we be at such a time as this? Where we'll be diving into issues affecting our country currently, and of course we see if we have made progress from the past or if we are sinking even deeper. So this show is more of a reflective kind of show today we go back in time and also we reflect and ask ourselves, after 60 years of where are we? How did we even get here in the first place? And are we proud of where we are? Asante tu sana. This is Africa 24. Karibu sana, karibu sana. Ndiyo tu meli imeng'oa nanga. This is your show. This is your host. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Show ndio hiyo imeanza. All right. Okay. Now, over the days, our country has made strides both forward and backward. We have made progress in some areas, and in some areas, we have seriously failed, right? And as a country, I think it's a point we need to ask ourselves, is this the dream of our forefathers? Was this their dream? Was this their desire? Okay, we'll be looking back, but in all this, I'll be telling you to tell me, or rather, I'll be asking you to tell me, are you proud of our country? Where ambao uko majuu, are you proud to call Kenya your home at the moment? We are Kenyans all the time, whether at home or away. We will always remain to be Kenya. But as it is, we want to look at the state of our country, the state of our economy, the state of our health, the state of our education 60 years now down the line. This clip I'm about to play is what informed our topic today. Of course, somehow the president quoted these words, but it was so evident by Muranga governor. That is what I want to deal with. I know today was a celebration. I'll be playing the events of the day. You better stick around and watch. Yeah. But there is this statement, both by the president and by the former who he was he was the whip. Was it the whip of Jubilee? Then he was de-whipped, I think, yeah, in the Senate. I think, I'm not sure. I need to go back and refresh in that part. But this is what Kangata Barua, yeah, the guy who dared and wrote a letter to the president telling him of how unpopular BBI was back then. You remember him? Now, today he came out and said something that made me wish to discuss. Now, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, just one moment. One moment. Now, as Kangata spoke today, he really gave out what he
County government celebrates 60 years of independence. However, we feel that Kenya as a country should have done a better job to lift its people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the people. County government celebrates 60 years of independence. However, we feel that Kenya as a country should have done a better job to lift its people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the Muranga County government celebrates 60 years of independence. However, we feel that Kenya as a country should have done a job to lift its people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the people of the Republic of Kenya that 60 years of independence, we still remain a poor country. Other countries that were...
okay. I'll be playing more of that just now. But this is what one Kangata is saying. The governor, these are his words, that 60 years down the road, 60 years after independence, it is sad. In fact, his words are this: it's unfair. It's unfair that after 60 years of independence, our country, Kenya, still has poverty at a very high index. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we are in a country that we can really tell a lot. When the economy is doing good, we don't need to be told. It will be obvious, you know. When the world and when our economy is stable, we will know. Yeah, we live in this country, or rather, you have people, if you're in diaspora, who live in this country, right? So the president tries to paint a rosy picture of what is in our country in terms of whether good or whether bad. but he really kind of painted a rosy picture. He said our economy is good. He said our economy is stable. In fact, his words were that we are doing well. We are doing well. He ended up by saying that he can confirm to Kenyans that we are safely out of danger of debt, distress, and that our economy is on a stable footing. Yeah, these are just highlights from what he spoke today. But I want to compare that with what he had said earlier on in his speech, that Kenya 60 years ago was with other countries who have made tremendous progress in their nation, who have developed, who have moved from third world countries, first to second or first world countries. But Kenya still remains dragging behind. Of course, he said that we are doing so well that we are 29th in terms of the fastest growing economy in the world. Of course, I googled that. I googled that, ladies and gentlemen. Somehow, I don't know if it's true, but what reflects is his speech. So I'll have to find a way um, to make it reflect from the World Bank ranking of economies that are doing so well. But our president confirms that the country, Kenya, is safely out of danger. Is safely out of danger. But that didn't really stir me. That didn't really stir me than what Kangata said. And this is what Kangata had to say. If you listen in to his speech.
To celebrate 60 years of independence. However, we feel that Kenya as a country should have done a better job to lift its people out of poverty. It is complete.
And I agree with him. As much as we're celebrating 60 years out of independence, 60 years of Independence Day being Jamuhuri Day, Kenya ought to have done better. Kenya ought to have done better. From where you sit, what do you think? What is your opinion? What do you make of what Kangata said? Kangata comes out and explains that we ought to have been uh, like far much ahead than where we are, right? We ought to be better.
Celebrate 60 years of independence. However, we feel that it's people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the people of Republic of Kenya that 60 years of independence we still remain a poor country. Other countries that were at this level have now progressed better. China were poor at the three, but now they are 10, 20 times better than Kenya. A country like Singapore was still a poor country. It is now almost 40 times more richer than the Republic of Kenya. We have a duty, the current leadership of this country, to lift this country out of poverty as soon as possible.
Okay. Kangata compares our country to Singapore 60 years ago. This statement is not new to us. We have had it. We have had this statement before that our country was in the same level as Singapore, others even say Malaysia, and other beautiful countries. But 60 years down the line, 60 years down the line, and here is where I agree with Kangata like a billion times, and this is why I chose, as much as many would focus on the glamour, the glory of the day, the pop and color that filled the Uhuru Gardens. I will focus on such issues, germane issues that truly define our country. Not that I choose to be negative, but let's discuss this. And probably we might find the solution of how comes other countries like Singapore, as Kangata has stated, Malaysia, and other countries, we were on the same track. We were at the same starting point in 1963. Decades down the line, Kenya seems to stagnate. Decades down the line, Kenya seems not to progress. Our education is not as stable. Our health sector is not as stable. Our economy is not as stable. We are not the talk of Africa in as far as development is concerned, in as far as taking care of our sick, of our elderly is concerned, in as far as mitigating climate change is concerned, in as far as fighting challenges associated with, let's say, for instance, floods and all and such calamities. We are not head, or rather we are not on the lead. Our country still drags or rather lags behind. But the president still is confident. The president still gives hope, and he says that he can confirm that Kenya is safely out of danger of debt. But then again, I ask myself this question: how much has been borrowed in this current regime? They right now may paint a rosy picture of an economy that is doing well. What will happen when the secrets are exposed in the next regime? Because it took this regime to tell us that we had empty coffers. It took this regime to tell us of the dirt that was there in the previous regime. Right now, probably they have nothing, no one to truly scrutinize them, to truly look at them, with that hooked eye and really point out where they are going wrong. So they may paint a beautiful picture, and it may sound good to the ear, might be music to the ear, that we are out of debt, we are out of debt distress. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember vividly, it is only a few days ago that even India loaned to Kenya 38 billion. I haven't even talked of World Bank. I haven't talked of IMF. I haven't talked of other countries that have loaned Kenya. And that adds to what we already owed many. So, as much as it's one thing to say we are safely out of danger, it's I think it would have been prudent enough to tell us this. One, tell us what we owed before you came to power. Tell us what you have paid now that you're in power. If you found it to be, let's say, 10, you have paid, give us the figure. Tell us what remains. Then again, also equally tell us what you have borrowed, and tell us how that is not a danger vis-a-vis what we had before. Ladies and gentlemen, it's one thing to blow your own trumpet, but it's another thing to speak the truth. The truth of the matter is, our economy, when it's doing well, it will not need anyone to tell us. It will be out there for all to see. The cost of living is a subject matter that many gabble with. A country that it takes so long to really stabilize in terms of feeding its people. 60 years down the line, we are unable to fully and confidently say we are a country that can feed our people. 60 years down the line, our ladies and gentlemen, we cannot fight some serious diseases. 60 years down the line, ladies and gentlemen, for your information, we don't have proper structures in terms of governance, in terms of even our electoral processes, in terms of even how we rule ourselves. That's why there is clamor to change the constitution as it is. Right now, we are talking of adding positions here, left, right, and center. 60 years down the line, we haven't figured out what works for Kenya. Eh? Is it only the president with CSs, or do we need to add a PM in the mix? Is it only the president and an official opposition leader in order to stabilize the country? 6 years down the line, we still haven't really understood how to govern ourselves. But countries like Singapore and Malaysia have figured that out. They have stabilized their leadership question. Our country, we still fight for leadership. 60 years down the line, we have very few credible outcomes of our elections. 60 years down the line, we have very few reports of positive changes that have happened in our electoral processes. We will vote, but the winner might be decided by factors unknown to us. We will go to court, but the ruling at times might not favor the the duly bona fide winner. 60 years down the line, we are here. Now we are a country unable to fight the pains caused by floods. I agree with you. We ought to be better. Of course, I agree with Governor Moranga that we ought to be better. And I agree with him when he says it is unfair. It is unfair, very unfair, that we are still wailing in poverty. Our people are struggling, right? Our people have no adequate shelter. Water is a pipe dream. Many have no access to clean water. Many have no access to good health facilities. We have been here in this country when we heard of even women giving birth on the road. We have been in this country when many have been denied services in the hospital, either because the doctors were on strike, there were no medicines in those hospitals, or people fraudulently extorted money from them. We have been here where NHIF does not fully cover everything, and even now it had to be changed. 60 years down the road, we are yet to figure out our insurance policy in as far as health is concerned. You, ladies and gentlemen, suffer because we lack competent leaders. We haven't figured out what is the role of an MP. And among many other myriad of issues affecting our country 60 years down the road. Of course, he may tell us that, yeah, we are out of danger. But I expected, and I hope you as well expected, to know where we were. How deep was the hole? What defined the hole? In the sense that, what was the debt? How much did we owe people? Was it several billions, trillions? We don't know. And it was interesting that even the controller of budget was at pains to explain how we are paying for some of these loans. It's one thing to tell us we were in distress, correct? But it would have been better if he told us what kind of distress. When Uhuru handed over power, to him, probably, he felt he was giving or he was doing the country a good service. Because today I ended up listening to his last speech, you know, his last speech on Madaraka Day, right, in June. And his speech was very filled with his achievements, his legacy projects, what he had been able to do in a decade. He didn't speak of empty coffers. He didn't speak of a debt that has had crippled our country. He spoke highly of what he had done. But unfortunately, this regime had to tell us a different story, probably to water down what the former president had stated in as far as his successes were concerned. And ladies and gentlemen, I wish to tell you this, that we were here when Ruto was the deputy president. He would speak highly of the Jubilee government. You remember when we had those campaigns, the deputy president spoke highly of Jubilee. He spoke highly of the achievements they had achieved, either in the first 5 years, because I remember they campaigned in 2013 and equally campaigned in 2017. And in 2017, the president, who was the deputy president then, painted a rosy picture. In fact, he showed us how far we had come and how far we were and how far we will go. Of course, things fell apart between him and the president, and now that they were no longer reading from the same page, he had to find a way to become a president. When he became a president, we didn't forget that he was a DP. He was an assistant to the president. And if they had a fallout, that's fine. But equally, he had a duty to report to the country why or what is the position then, which he didn't. He had to wait till he's the president. So we have no way of proving what they say to be true. It could as well be a narrative, just like any other narrative. The narrative of death could be just another narrative. And now, ladies and gentlemen, even as we mark 60 years after we gained our independence, truly speaking, death has never, and I choose to use that word, has never missed in any government. Every government had a way of asking for debts. How they spent it made the difference. It doesn't matter if even now we were to pay all our debts. I strongly believe that the president will incur debts. That's fine. My problem would be, how is that debt being spent? We were here when Eurobond was aired out, where money never reached our coffers, as many report. And now we are paying for it. During the State of the Nation address, the president was very vocal to tell us that this December he will begin the payment for the same. That's fine. Paying is okay. But the pain is this: how comes we never knew what happened to that money? The person who suffers today is the mwananchi who pays their taxes. The person who today feels the pinch of paying debt they have no idea about is the mwananchi. Yes, we are at 60, but we are in pain. Yes, we are at 60, but we are struggling. We are at 60, but there is nothing to smile about. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if after we pay our debts, we will stabilize. I don't know if we pay our debts, we'll be able to walk the same journey as Singapore and Malaysia. And I agree with Kangata that it is true. It is unfair that 60 years down the line, poverty continues to wallow our people. Many cannot even access proper sanitary places, sanitary environment. There are places today, there is no good toilets. We are still using latrines, and that's even better. There are places they have no access to such facilities. But here we are at 60. Thank you very much, God, for giving us this beautiful country. But as well, we equally ask, may you give us beautiful, accountable, and credible leaders. That I had to read and to explain to you. Wow, karibu sana kwa hii show. Karibu sana kwa hii show. I'm your host Jakes, the moderator. Let me know where you're watching me from. Naona wengi tayari wameshajaja. Namwona boss lady anasema hi. How are you boss lady? I hope you're well. Dickson Kosgei, I see you. Umesema tuma link. Link ndo hiyo hapo kwa comment section. Na kujiunga nami kwa show si ngumu, eh? Kupitia link ambayo nimekutumia hapo kwa comment section. Hiyo ndio link unatumia kuingia ndani ya hii show. Ukiingia kwa hii show utaingia vipi? Kwanza itabidi umewasha kamera na umewasha mic. Hiyo app iko na hizo vitu mbili, iko na kamera na iko na mic, so lazima uziwashe. Alafu lazima uandike jina. Si lazima iwe jina rasmi, lakini ni jina tu ambalo nitalitumia hapa kwa show, alafu tuweze kuwa na conversation. Ukishafanya hivyo una click enter, alafu unajikuta umekuwa kwa hii show. So like this video is airing live on Mtembei TV, live on Afric 24, live on Afric Facebook, live on Leo TV, Facebook and YouTube, live on Kenya Digital TV, and also equally live on True TV. So if you see this video in any of those platforms, you are in the right place. But then again, it's also important that you subscribe to Afric 24. Soon and very soon, it will only air in that one stream. But for now, we have co-hosted in all those channels. So for you never to miss these awesome conversations and debates that happen here, please consider subscribing to Afric 24. I know many don't like the element of being notified every time, those pop-ups that come on your phone. I can guarantee you are safe. You are safe. Just subscribe. You are safe. We got you covered. We know how to make sure you don't get those spam notifications. All right. Okay. Now to continue with what I have just highlighted, I want to show you something that equally as well rubbed me wrongly. I want you to look at this. Even as we celebrate, we are still on Jamuhuri's festival. Hatujatoka wadau, but tunaangalia mahali tuko na mahali tunaelekea. Look at this one, ladies and gentlemen.
Ada mpya kutoka kwa NTSA. Nikupe taswira ya ada hizo ambazo zimependekezwa na NTSA. Ada hizo ni kama hizi. Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha rangi ya gari lako, utakuwa sasa ukilipa shilingi 20,000 kutoka shilingi 500. Mtazamaji, ni nyongeza ya asilimia hiyo ambayo inaona hapo, ambayo ni kubwa zaidi. Leseni ya wauzaji wapya wa magari kutoka 9,600 hadi 1,100,000, 1,100,000. Nyongeza ya asilimia 942. Mapendekezo mapya ya NTSA. Mtazamaji, kubadilisha umiliki wa gari zaidi ya zile tunaita kwa kimombo CC 1,000, utakuwa ukilipa sasa 10,000 kutoka 1,660. Imepanda na zaidi ya asilimia 500. Nyingine ni kwamba ubadilishanaji wa leseni ya kigeni, ikiwa una gari kutoka Tanzania unataka liwe ni gari la humu nchini, sasa utalipa shilingi 10,000 kutoka shilingi 1,000, napanda na asilimia 900. Mapendekezo ambayo yametolewa na NTSA kuchapisha kitabu cha usajili wa gari kutoka 2,500 hadi 10,000, zaidi ya asilimia 300 kupanda. Serikali ya Kenya Kwanza inaendelea kuongeza ada. Baadhi tu ndio hizi: kuchukua upya leseni kwa wauzaji magari mapya imepanda na kwa zaidi ya 44,000 kufikia 50,000. Kuchukua upya leseni ya wauzaji magari yaliyotumika, yale kwa kimombo tunaita second hand, utakuwa ukilipa sasa 50,000 ikiwa mapendekezo haya NTSA yatapitishwa. Kuchapisha baadhi tu ya mapendekezo zaidi ni kuchukua upya daraja la A, ile kuchukua leseni upya utakuwa sasa ukilipa 50,000. Kuchukua upya daraja la B shilingi 20,000. Mapendekezo zaidi. Mwelekezaji wangu, nipe zaidi nikupe. Mapendekezo mengine, ikiwa unasajili gari lako, wale ni wale wenye kampuni za kuuza magari chini ya hiyo CC 1,000, sasa utalipa 3,400 kutoka 1,700. Ndo hizi baadhi ya mabadiliko ambayo yamependekezwa siku ya leo. Kuna mabadiliko zaidi ambayo yanaendelea kupendekezwa kama haya: usajili wa magari kufikia CC 3,000 na zaidi 16,000. NTSA wanajitetea wakiwa wapi? Tuwasikize.
Offering more than at a higher cost in terms of service than what we are able to collect from the services. So we have been asking and requesting that we be given a chance to adjust our rates in order to be able to meet the growing economic challenges that every institution faces.
Okay, interesting. And sio hayo tu see hayo tu, there is another increment. Now we are at 60 and the pain will not get easy for any Kenyan. The tax question will continue, and I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, there is yet more coming in as much as that is concerned. Listen to this.
For civil registration, migration, and citizenship services that will likely dent further the depressed pockets of millions of Kenyans beginning January next year. Some of these fees have increased by up to 2,500%, making it difficult to afford these basic services. But how did the government come up with these new rates, and what impact do they have on the levies of ordinary Kenyans? KTN's investigative reporter, Ode Francis, interrogates this issue.
On the December 5th, 2023, the Ministry of Interior sent out a memo to all chiefs and assistant chiefs and other administrators, mandating them to urgently consult the public on the new rates of civil registration of birth and deaths, as well as national identification cards, and as that obliges public participation. The public was neither given enough time or information to share their views on the matter, nor did the government consider their feedback before adopting the new levies. KTN News has obtained a document detailing the proposed reviews charges, fees and levies for registration and identification services. The document reveals a shocking increase in all fees related to these services, which some increment is as high as 2,500%. A sample of the table shows the percentage increase in the fees. Certificate of birth and death will cost 200 shillings, up from 50 shillings, an increase of 200%. Late registration of birth and death will cost you 500 shillings, up from 100 shillings, an increase of 500%. Re-registration of birth and verification of certificate of birth or certificate of death for private Kenyan agencies will cost you 1,000 shillings, up from 100 shillings, an increase of 900%. Amendment of a record of birth will cost a Kenyan 1,000 shillings, up from 40 shillings, an increment of 2,400%. To verify or authenticate a government service of Kenya agency, one will have to pay 500 shillings, up from 100 shillings, which is an increment of 400%. Amendment or addition or altercation of name of child of a record birth will cost 1,000 shillings, up from 40 shillings, an increment of 2,400%. To obtain vital statistical reports for private entities, one will have to pay 2,000 shillings, which is currently free of charge. The same applies to vital statistical report for Government of Kenya agencies, which will cost 1,000 shillings, also currently free of charge. If a Kenyan died abroad, his or her death registration will cost 150 US dollars, equivalent to 23,000 Kenyan shillings with the current exchange rates. The same applies to registration of birth of Kenyan occurring abroad, which will also cost 150 US dollars, up from 50 shillings. The State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services proposes to introduce a subsidized fee of 300 shillings for the application of a national identification card, which currently does not attract any user charges. For duplicate and replacement of ID, the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services proposes to review the fee for this application from 100 shillings to 1,000 shillings to align it with the cost of production and the current market rates. For one to be issued with an identification report, the government proposes to charge 1,000 shillings, up from 300 shillings, an increase of 233%. This fee is chargeable to individuals and private entities, but not government institutions. Staff working in government ministries, departments, and agencies will have to pay 1,000 shillings, up from 100 shillings, an increment of 900% to obtain a civil servant's card. They will also have to pay 1,000 shillings, up from 100 shillings, an increase of 900% to receive staff badges, which previously costed 350 shillings. But how did the government conduct the public participation on these new charges? We went to one of the meetings to find out if the public was adequately consulted and informed. In Kajiado County, Ngaimurunya, Ongata Rongai, at the DO's office, those who attended the meeting did not know the agenda until the DCC announced it during the meeting. The participants here were students who had come to apply for IDs. The Constitution confers right to participation in decision-making is guaranteed under Article 118(1) and B and 196(1) and B, which directs the national and county legislatures to respectively facilitate public participation in their work. But did the government follow the proper framework for public participation, which include placing adverts in mainstream media, both print and electronic, and providing feedback mechanism through drafting and tabling of the resultant report? Time is ticking to 1st January 2024. Ode Francis.
Okay. Now, that's just a glimpse of what is about to happen in our country. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not about to become easy. It's not about to become things are not about to become soft or bearable. Yeah, I think bearable is the correct word. So our economy, is it doing well? Because this is what the president said. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to increase charges that were never there. We are about to increase charges that were slightly affordable to figures unbearable. Owning a car will be an expensive deal. Owning an ID, probably to some, might be an expensive deal. 60 years down the line, we want now to charge people to get that fundamental, basic human right. You know, we want to charge them. I don't know if you remember what it meant w- to get an ID. I remember in high school, they would come and they would take our details of where our locality, nini nini, then give them our birth certificate, kila kitu, then they feel it. You know, the ka excitement ya kupokea ID wewe. Hmm? Ndo umetimia tu hivi 18 na labda imekuta ukiwa chuo, so those guys would come na unapewa ka ID kako bwana. The pride, ile kiburi ulikuwa ile kiburi ulikuwa nayo kupata ID. Now 60 years later, now that is about to change. That is about to change. Instead of us improving, we are going to harsher times. You know, harsher times. We haven't fully eradicated poverty that everyone now can afford these things that are changing, you know, increment that are sometimes very deep, you know, very deep. If you look at what Muitereri was trying to show you, is that some of these figures are outrageous. How do you add something from 500 to 20,000? An increment of 3,900% in this time where in this country where things are difficult. How do you change a figure from 9,600 to 100,000? What is informing all this, really? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the country, this is where our country has become, you know. This is where this is the state, this is the correct state of our nation, that things are about to get difficult. Things are about to get expensive. And Kangata rightfully says that we were at the same level with some countries, name them, Akina Singapore and the likes. But 60 years down the road, we haven't eradicated poverty. We haven't eradicated poverty. Our people still struggle even to get a meal. Many live hand to mouth. You know, they work very hard. They live hand to mouth. A simple meal at times is difficult. But our government feels probably, and that's why maybe William Ruto, the president, said that we are now doing well. Our economy is doing well. In fact, he even said we are ranked 29, I think, in the best improving economies. And because we have improved that much, that's why something that was being charged 500 now will be charged 20,000. Something that was charged 9,600 will be charged 100,000. Something that was charged only 1,600 will shoot up to 10,000. And as if that's not enough, something that was just charged 1,000 bob will shoot to 10,000 bob. Now, some of these things affect what I'm now reading. These are things that will be affecting you very soon. Do you have a dream of buying a car? Please prepare well. Don't just have the kamani ya kununua the gari. Don't just work hard and accumulate yenye imetoshea kununua gari. Kama unanunua second hand, transfer fee has changed. Transfer charges have changed. That's what they are calling kubadilisha umiliki wa gari ya zaidi ya 1000 cc. Now gari ya 1000 cc ni hizi zenye zinabeba wasili sana eh? Most of them ziko 1000 cc and below. Anything above that, your Duke, your Sienta, your Prado, your whatever, those big cars, or rather those slightly heavy engine vehicles, those cars right now, kama uko unalipa 1600 itakuwa 10k. Itakuwa 10k. So kama gari ni 1.2 ongeza 10 juu yake, na hiyo is just one part. Here is just one part. Now, if you want to begin a business, ya kuuza magari, if you want to begin a business, now I think they have realized so many people want to begin that business, or Kenyans are seriously buying vehicles. So they have said, kama unataka kuanza hiyo biashara and you need to have a license. That license is changing from 9,600 to 100,000. 100,000. Now, if maybe umenunua kagari kamebit rangi and kamezeka, or probably kamepata accident, you want to change the color or something like that, changing the color of your car. Before, it was 500 shillings. Now, if you think of changing the color, and I'm telling you, kwa ploti sometimes, or where you live, or even your own children can decide kugwara, they come with a kachuma and they draw even a nice message. Maybe they tell you, I love you, daddy, I love you, mommy, happy Jamuhuri Day. And then you want maybe ufeel enyewe maybe color white ilikuwa ina shout sana na inaonyeshana all these scratches. I need to change the color. Changing the color of your car. Which probably is something many people do. Yeah, you feel umekaa na hiyo rangi for some time, now you want to change it. It will cost you not 500, which it was, but 20k. 20k. Of course, let me also remind you of what Millie Odhiambo was saying in Parliament the other day. If you remove those stickers, those notification stickers on your car, before the fine was 200 shillings. Now it will be 200,000 shillings because the economy is doing well, Wadao. Allow me to be flicking this presentation for you, right? Of course, I'll be coming to that, and as well to that, and even to the ballistic, to what we were discussing here, right here. The economy that William Ruto, the president, was describing, I don't think is the economy we are living in. I don't think it's the same economy. Why am I saying so? Right now, the cost of living is a huge thing. Many are struggling to put food on their table. Many are many are stressed at the moment because they don't know when or how they'll take their kids to school come next year, come January. Come January, things will not be as rosy. And maybe the advice that many should be told is, when you're spending your Christmas, please trade carefully. Don't spend everything. January might be difficult. And this year's January next year's January might be even lengthier. I choose not to celebrate evil. I choose not to only dwell on the negativity. Neither as well do I choose to only listen to the positive side. I choose to look at the whole picture. Our country has counties that are complaining. They lack the ability to fight floods, to mitigate issues that are happening in the counties. I remember vividly the deputy president said, "We have no money to give to the counties." The 2010 constitution happened in in the sixth decade. Actually, it happened 2010. Now it was meant to bring um, services close to Mwananchi. It was meant to really elevate the status of our people. But even after devolution began, even after all that, we are yet to see progress. Times there are delays in remitting the funds for counties. Not forgetting the rampant corruption in those counties. It's like as well we chose to devolve corruption. Yeah, we have had some governors impeached. We're just looking at the 60 years in a form of a summary. Yeah? We have seen many go home because of shady deals. Governments that have come and gone have been mad with corruption syndicates. Talk of the chicken gate, talk of the SGR that many say it was overhyped, right? Talk of Eurobond, talk of COVID billionaires, talk of the oil saga that is just recent, talk of KEMSA issues, and we want to compare ourselves with Malaysia. Probably we ought to come back and ask ourselves. I think it's high time that we took our country to a reset setting, to reset it. And some people need to be jailed. From where I see it, some need to be jailed because it is criminal to rob from a sick person. It's inhuman, it's ungodly, it's almost tantamount to being demonic. You rob from the dying, you rob from the sick, you rob from the needy. For what? To buy a good Prado, a beautiful house, to change your living standards. Okay, fine, fine. It's not proper. It's not proper. Leo nawapeleka tu pole pole because it's 60 years journey. It's a journey of 60 years. But Kenyans, do we have something to smile about? I remember Kitambo, Jamuhuri Day was marked with some form of glory in the sense that many would want to go home and have family get-togethers. Family get-togethers was almost conjoined with Jamuhuri Day. Jamuhuri Day used to bring some form of nostalgia. There was some degree of excitement. There was some degree of happiness. Today, if you are to be honest, were you excited that it's Jamuhuri Day? I might just hit you. Ah, yeah, the only holiday. It is no longer the fun we used to know. It's no longer the excitement we used to know. Many would sit down and watch the president that have been there before and listen to his speech with a lot of hope and expectation. When you listen to the president today, did you listen to him with hope and expectation? With did what he said match what is there on the ground? This is just a sample of what he said. Of course, as well, he acknowledged that some countries began where Kenya was 1963. We were at the same level with Singapore, Malaysia, those countries. We were at par. But 60 years down the line, Kangata gives an example and says they are like 40, 50% ahead of us. They have good houses, they have good infrastructure, they have good hospitals, they have good access to water, they have access to food, they have food security in these countries. But our country at times we lack food security. We have to borrow, we have to ask for donors to give us food. We can't take care of our sick, we can't take care of our old, we can't take care of our needy. Our children at times go to school without food. We have to give them a cup of porridge for them to be in school. Kangata today expressed how he's proud that he has a program that gives children porridge in school. I appreciate that. And many look forward to that cup of porridge. Many children go to school because of that one cup of porridge. It gives them the sense of hope because probably at home there is nothing. 60 years down the line, our children, some still struggle with G gas, some still walk bare feet. 60 years down the line, the structures in our schools, some are falling. We have seen structures being swept or blown away by wind. We have seen schools that are very far, kilometers away from where our children are. We have counties that have very few schools. 60 years down the line, 60 years down the line, our economy is not anywhere close to where our forefathers dreamt it to be. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I agree with Kangata when he says we ought to have done better. We ought to have done well than how we have done. Corruption is almost a norm. Corruption is almost the ideal thing. It is almost the it thing. Corruption is what defines our institutions and organization. Tribalism, my good God. Tribalism is what defines who gets what position. Yeah, if you speak a certain language, not that you're competent for that job, no, but because your name begins with a name that maybe sounds familiar to the person up to the appointing authority, you get the job. Now we have incompetent leaders. We have leaders unable to fulfill pledges, to fulfill promises, to deliver on the dream Kenya. I may sound like a broken record or just ranting, but truly speaking, ladies and gentlemen, at 60, is this where many dreamt to be? Is this where our forefathers dreamt to be? I repeat, is this where our fathers, those who came before us, wished us to be
that Murang'a County
when they
wishes to be.
fought, when they went to the forest? Is this where they wanted? Was this their dream?
County government celebrates 60 years of independence. However, we feel that Kenya as a country should have done a better job to lift its people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the people of the Republic of Kenya that 60 years of independence, we still remain a poor country. Other countries that were at this level.
It's unfair. Those are the words from the governor. It's unfair that 60 years today, there are people not in their homes. They are maybe living inside a tent because their houses were destroyed by floods. Their houses were destroyed by floods. There are people burying someone today or maybe tomorrow because the person died of diseases that are called communicable, even preventable diseases. We are yet to improve on that. 60 years down the line, ladies and gentlemen, poverty defines our country. Poverty defines our country. The president, in his speech, was quite audible enough to tell us that 60 years down the line, the gap between the rich and the poor has not declined. Allow me to share now the speech of the president. so that it doesn't sound as though it's me saying all this. Listen to our president when he spoke. Of course, he tried to paint a rosy picture. He tried to bring out elements of hope. Of course, that's what the head of the country should do. But listen to the president. This is the speech that made the day.
Intolerance discourse to orderly and peaceful elections. However, we have not made as much progress with our economy. Our savings as a percentage of GDP is dismal. The gap between the rich and the poor has not reduced. Many, especially young people, don't have jobs, and our revenues as a percentage of GDP remain low.
The gap between the poor and the rich has not declined. In any case, the rich become extremely wealthier. Probably they know, they have learned the ropes. Many have known how to cut corners. Many have known how to amass wealth, right? In funny dealings. And that's why at times when they come to us, they can tell us for free, I can buy you. You remember what Osoro told the people in Bomet? That I can buy you, I can purchase you. Yani in short, niko na do mpaka anaweza kukubai. And man, oh man, that's the country we are in. That's the country we are in 60 years down the road. 60 years down the road, our president says the rich and the poor, the gap has increased.
Our contribution to accelerating future progress. In our democratic and political journey, we have made tremendous sacrifices and progress, from a single party to multi-party, personality and ethnic parochialism to issue-based and national politics, from violence and intolerance discourse to orderly and peaceful elections. However, we have not made as much progress with our economy. Our savings as a percentage of GDP is dismal. The gap between the rich and the poor has not reduced. Many, especially young people, don't have jobs, and our revenues as a percentage of GDP remain low. Our generation must therefore take up the unfinished job of actualizing economic prosperity as our contribution to perfecting Kenya's national sovereignty. We owe this to those who made huge sacrifices to bestow on us a nation of promise. We owe it to one another, to the youth, women, children of Kenya, and to each and every one of us. The responsibility of our generation begins.
Okay. I agree there with the president that it behooves everybody and it calls upon you and I to actualize the dreams of our forefathers. Those who came before us wanted to fight poverty. They wanted to fight illiteracy. They wanted us to be equipped with knowledge. They wanted us to be equipped and to live better. We are not
and contemplate our contribution to accelerating future progress. In our democratic and political journey, we have made tremendous sacrifices and progress, from a single party to multi-party, personality and ethnic parochialism to issue-based and national politics, from violence and intolerance discourse to orderly and peaceful elections. Have we not made as much progress with our economy? Our savings have been on display during the past year. Together, we have made the right choices, sometimes taken very difficult and painful decisions to steer Kenya back from the edge of a catastrophic cliff of debt distress and move our country in a new direction. There is every reason to believe that without serious sacrifices and hard work over the past year, the crisis, threats, and challenges in the global economic and geopolitical environment confronting us would have overwhelmed us, as indeed it has many countries. We have had to make our contribution to the struggle for the nation's economic sovereignty. We have had to cut back significantly on expenditure and to defer the implementation of critical development programs to stabilize our economy. The policy measures required to mobilize necessary revenues have been difficult, but they were our only way and means of escape. Though painful, the sacrifices we have made, which would not only make our freedom fighters proud, are also absolutely necessary at a time as this and in situations that we find ourselves, and is the guarantee of our nation's economic stability. Proudly, these sacrifices have paid off. I can now confirm, without fear of any contradiction, that Kenya is safely out of the danger of debt distress and that our economy is on a stable footing.
Okay. The president's last statement is here for you, that he can confirm that Kenya is safely out of danger of debt and that our economy is on stable footing. Now, this is what this is the narrative that at times I don't wish to let just slide over. We were here when just a few days ago, and I wish you can go back and watch this video at Africa, where we discussed about what the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury tried to tell us. He said that number one, we are unable to pay our salaries. We are struggling. In fact, the words were, we are struggling as a nation even to keep afloat. We are not doing so well as a country. And as a country, he said, we ought to really tighten our belts, right? That we ought to have some degree of understanding. Of course, he was responding to the MPs who had gone on strike because they were demanding for CDF. The CS for Treasury told us that we are unable, we are not in a we are not okay. That was this week, no, last week. But barely 200 hours. Let me use 200 hours. Yeah, it says here. Barely 200 hours today now. The president now comes out and says that we are out of debts. We are okay. Our economy is sound. We are 29th in terms of the fastest growing economy. What are those indicators? That is what I'm talking about. What are those things that we can say that, of course, we agree with the president? Because I refuse just to listen to the speech without internalizing what he has said. I refuse to listen to his speech and conversation without asking those pertinent questions. It's true, you say, the president, that the economy is on stable footing. What are the indicators? What should we look at? Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you and I pose this to you. From where you sit, right? From where you are, is our economy on safe footing, on a stable footing? Was this a narrative they had probably created, probably, if I may ask you, ladies and gentlemen watching me, or that we were struggling, or that the coffers were empty? Now they are now changing tune. They are now changing the narrative and say that we are out of danger. The economy is doing well. Now maybe this is the current memo, and probably the CS bado hajafikiwa na hii memo that by now they ought to change tune. That those storos are empty coffers. Those storos of a struggling economy, we need now to change this story, and hence that's why maybe we na contrasting information between the president and the CS for Treasury. And it is even a dilemma. Who do we trust? Given that the president says we are doing well, even today, this is his words. This is directly picked from the speech that he can confirm that Kenya is safely out of the danger of death and distress, and that our economy is on stable footing. Now, I feel the pinch and I feel the pain when we are lied to either by the president or the CS, because someone is telling the truth and someone is telling the lie, because there is no way we can be in the two positions at the same time, unable to pay our debts, unable to clear our loans, unable to give the MPs the CDF, and even release county funds promptly, and still say we are doing well. Those two situations can't be. Those two situations can't be. And this is where I agree with Kangata, where he says it's unfair. It's unfair that we suffer some pain unnecessarily. It's unfair. It's unfair. Very unfair. That choppers may be used to go plant few trees, but may they lack to fly food, to send food to those suffering at the moment based on floods. Where are those choppers? Where are they? Where is that money that it's easy to pay someone to go spend even on functions unnecessary, you know? But our country, men and women, those who are left behind, are left struggling with no drugs in their hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, let's ask ourselves this way. If the president today chose to attend a meeting via Zoom, will he be counted absent in that meeting, truly speaking? Will he miss out if he was to attend virtually? Right now, I'm coming to you virtually. You're able to look at me, hear me, and even participate in this conversation virtually. You're not where I am, but you're not missing out on anything. How much have you spent to be on this meeting? COVID taught us that it's not a must we travel. COVID taught us that the world can be at the palm of your hand just by searching, clicking, and entering and logging in. As simple as that. Probably what you need is a good internet connection. I believe State House has proper internet connection. I believe the service there are unmatched anywhere in Kenya. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. So let's imagine today he refused to go to a certain country, attends the meeting virtually, speak one-on-one uh, via a camp or like this one, or Zoom, speak to a president, speak to a different person via such a forum, and have a meeting with the person. Will he not still achieve what he achieves when he travels? And that money, can it be used for something else? I know he would wish to travel. I know there's an impact on one, but at times when the country is like how it is, do we really need you to have not one, not two, over 40 kind of trips? Yesterday you said that you you have reduced the spending, but have you really reduced it? What are the figures? Who can verify this? Because even the control of budget tayari ameshikwa, or rather ako kwa, she's fighting her own battles. Our our auditor is silent. Our solicitor general is silent. We can't hear them. So how do we verify that? How? Our country will lose billions of shillings in some of these state functions. You called a gathering to celebrate women married to MPs, women married by governors. That's the function you have created. How much does it cost? Can that money be used for something else? State House at times calls the clergy. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the clergy actually, but at times, why hold those mega events in State House? And I'm sure at times they really cost an arm and a leg. A lot of money is spent, too much money is spent on this event. If we were candid enough, we should ask ourselves how much was spent to mark this year's 60th birthday. How much money? How much? It was good. It had pop and color. It was beautiful. It was actually. I have to give it to you guys. The entertainment was top notch. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the entertainment was world class. Right? Then of course we were treated to all those issues of those performing artists. Of course, they created songs just to praise the president. Of course, on that day, you don't sing a song to criticize. On that day, you don't make jokes that can slice the president wrongly. Huh? But I'm sure those guys were highly paid. The more they were, the more we spent. None will perform for free, or nobody performed for free. How much did we spend? All that money. Today, did the government visit children's home? Let's take, for example, did any of the children's home, did any of the CSs take time to visit the vulnerable, right? The street families. Did we give them anything today? Or did we just have fun, merry pop and all, but there was nothing for the poor? There was nothing for the common mwananchi. We have very many children in the streets. Street urchins are many. Kids abandoned are many. Street families is growing at an alarming rate. Children's home, they are not just what, they are many. Did any of the CSs, because the president went to watch football after all that, he went to support those guys who were playing a football match at Talanta Hela. But we didn't see them going to children's home, donating to the needy. We will see you guys popping and posting photos of going for walks. You are in Ecuador, you are going for walks. You're walking in the morning. You send us clips in our social media of how you're keeping fit. But now the question now comes in, when will we see photos, right? Of not just you walking, but you sharing food with the needy. We are in the season of giving. Okay, the president didn't go, but who went? Shattered dreams. Kenya at 60, the nightmare of poverty. And of course, what I'm discussing today is the heartbreaking truth of Jamuhuri glory. There is no glory in dining when others are lacking. I choose to end the show like this. Let us remain focused as a country. I know I might have only spoken alone, but I believe I speak for millions of Kenyans. Before you flash out a vehicle worth millions of shillings, before you flash and you showcase a watch worth several millions, before you flash and showcase a belt worth several hundreds of thousands, before you flash out your suit worth millions of shillings, please remember, some people have nothing to eat. Of course, you may say it's not your problem, but many voted for you. Many woke up very early in the morning, very early, thinking they were going to vote for hope, hoping beyond hope that change may come with your leadership, hoping beyond hope that maybe, just maybe, corruption will be a thing of the past, hoping beyond hope that maybe somehow their children will go to school without the worry of and the burden of school fees. Now January is about to come. Some have no idea how they will take their kids to school. Some of the policies that have come, some truly don't affect, or rather, don't really help the needy and the poor. There are kids in Kenya who won't be lucky to get CDF, kids in Kenya who won't manage to get wings to fly, the governors won't locate them. And I can tell you for free, January, you'll see these sad stories of kids who scored very high in their KCPE, but they have no cent, they have no money to join Form 1. January will come, our children will be the center of media coverage of how they are unable to join Form 1, of how they are unable to join school, either for lack of school fees, either for lack of, those essentials that are normally asked. I remember a story, I think last year, of a child who walked to school several kilometers just not to miss out on the intake. The child didn't have school fees, the child didn't have fare or means of transport, so he chose to walk. I remember vividly of another child who had to carry a chicken to go try and negotiate with the principal so that the child can be admitted in school. I've seen some children who have refused, or rather, who the system has refused through design to allow them progress. What do I mean? We have now junior secondary that is now equally quite a challenge to join. You have to change from the schools. Some have to change the schools because probably the schools that they are in haina junior sec, and now even if it had junior sec, unakuta kuko na story na school fees, kuko na story na uniform, wanaambia pia kuna story na kupikiwa lunch, so kuko na some feeding program na kuna some money charged therein. Some of these parents, they even struggle to raise food at their home, but you are being told to look for school uniform. And at 60 years, we will be here donating to these children. Yet we have leaders who would want to control CDF, to channel the money to a certain office. Then, a selected committee sit down and decide that it is Fulani or Fulani. We have no data to show how many kids have received this CDF, how many kids haven't received, how many kids remain unattended to. Even if we increased CDF a billion times and we don't have proper data, what we are doing is just wasting money. Why? Because eventually it ends into the pockets of the wrong people. Eventually, the real suffering Kenyans these funds don't reach to them. January is coming, and I can tell you for free, from where I sit, it will not be rosy. It will not be rosy. There, it will strike the reality. And maybe many will ask, truly is our economy doing well? The fuel prices haven't changed. You told us this month, December, things will begin to change. We are only 2 days before EPRA gives its report. I, I don't know how much the prices would be, and probably even if it goes down, maybe it might not go down significantly. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, where are we as a country? Is this the dream of our forefathers? Is this the economy they envisioned? And I agree again as I finish with Kangata. It's unfair. It's unfair. I'll say it again. It's unfair that our people are wailing in abject poverty and the government seems unmoved.
When county government celebrates 60 years of independence, however, Kenya as a country should have done a better job to lift its people out of poverty. It is completely unfair to the people of the Republic of Kenya that 60 years of independence, we still remain a poor country. Other countries that were at this level have now progressed better. Countries like South Korea, China, they were poorer than Kenya in 1963. But now they are in 1963. It is now
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, if what Kangata has said is true or it's anything to go with, that in 1963, China was poorer than Kenya, I don't know if it's true. That South Korea was poorer than Kenya, I don't know if it's true. If Singapore was almost at the same level or even lower than Kenya, Malaysia was at a lower level than us in Kenya. They worked on their country, and that's why we are now working very hard to send our people to those countries. 60 years down the line, we don't want to work for us. We don't want to improve our country, our economy. We want to send our people abroad to these countries that made those painful decisions. One, to be to have integrity in how they handle their resources. Integrity is one thing in our country. There are things we can work on, and probably we can begin to make steps. My final plea would be to institutions like uh, the corruption body, the anti-corruption body, the DCI, the DPP. It's high time that you rise beyond our expectation. Let's have cases fully charged in courts. Let's have people going to jail because of acts of economic sabotage. It's criminal to destroy the lives of Kenyans year in, year out. It doesn't matter the level, the office, the kind of persons that these people at times are. It calls upon you to rise and honor the oath of office and truly say, I, as the DPP, I will diligently serve the people of Kenya. I, as the chairperson of EACC, I will do my duties diligently. I, as the Inspector General, I'll do my duties. From where I sit, I have no capacity to advise any of these guys. But if there is a conscience in their hearts, at 60, there are things we ought to have gotten right. How we deal with crime, how we deal with corruption, how we deal with embezzlement of public funds. By now, we ought to have gotten it right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure this is a show you didn't anticipate. Maybe you wished that I play what was rosy in the event, but I choose to side with Kangata today. I choose to stick with his words that it's unfair that 60 years down the line, our country still wallows in poverty. That poverty is the nightmare that won't go away. And the president backs this statement by saying that the gap between the rich and the poor is not shrinking and probably will never shrink. Not that the poor in Kenya are not educated. Some have endless number of documents of their qualifications, but there are no jobs. Some have been trained. Some have gone to the best of schools, but there are no jobs. The president admits that we are not okay in the sense that some countries have gone before us, have attained a lot than we have attained, but we can attain. We can attain. I strongly believe we can attain, and we can bring back the glory of Jamuhuri. We can bring back the glory of our country. You know, we can bring back the good name of Kenya. Our people are doing us proud abroad, but even here at home, we can do better. We can make ourselves better. Before you subject endless taxes, before you subject endless increase in the things that the services that you provide to us, equally increase the services, the delivery of promises, infrastructure, do as good roads, do as good hospitals, do as good schools, improve on livelihoods. Don't just enjoy taking away from our lives, equally enjoy impacting our lives with positivity, with good things, and aware and also shun from evil. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me. I leave you with this speech from the president. If it inspired you, well and good. If it made you think out loud like I did, you are in a right place. As well, I wish you a happy Jamuhuri Day and equally a prosperous and a happy Christmas, and of course, a very positive 2024. God bless our country. God bless Kenya. I leave you with sights and sounds of Jamuhuri Day celebrations that happened in Uhuru Gardens. Thank you very much. I should not take more of your time.
To become a sovereign republic. I am delighted to have the privilege of leading our nation in celebrating this milestone in our journey to national independence. According to the vision of our forefathers who fought for this country's freedom, independence was intended to bestow on us the gift of political as well as economic self-determination. This anniversary gives us the opportunity to gather as a family and reflect together on how we have fared over the course of 6 decades. It is clear that we have made undeniable progress on many fronts, and as a result, our nation has come a long way in the right direction. Before that first Jamuhuri Day, Kenya's sovereignty was exercised by an unelected foreign and colonial power for the benefit of an occupying minority. We have since matured from a single-party state to a competitive, multi-party democracy and a devolved system of governance with robust checks and balances under the constitution that was ratified by the people of Kenya in the year 2010. Along with the maturity of our democracy, Kenya's institutions of governance have evolved significantly. Parliament, for example, is now, more than ever, an independent assertive organ of government with its own calendar and its own budget. As a result of this autonomy, party positions on important national issues are much more clearly defined, and whenever circumstances and the national interest demand, bipartisan engagement across the political divide is pursued in a structured manner. Proposals currently before Parliament on the enhancement of the autonomy of our county assemblies prove that our assemblies at the county level are also making encouraging progress in their maturation into independent watchdogs, policymakers, and representatives of people at our counties. Devolution is growing its roots deeper to connect with the soul and spirit of our nation. We have consistently allocated more resources and made them available on time, and supported measures to further empower county assemblies to become good stewards. Our political culture has also evolved considerably. We are now committed to making sure that at every election, our democratic competition is less about personalities and tribes and more about issues and the national interest. As a result, the last general election, which serves as a very solid beacon of this new direction, reflects the true will and confidence of the people of Kenya in democracy. Without the rule of law, ladies and gentlemen, our democracy falls short of serving us as a people. The judiciary, which is our nation's foremost anchor of the rule of law, continues to grow in its capacity to authoritatively discharge its constitutional mandate and make justice a right of every Kenyan. To provide effective and efficient services to the people, we have enhanced resources available to the judiciary, promoted respect for its independence, and submitted to its authority in order to deepen our credentials as a nation guided by the rule of law. To complete this framework of institutions designed to safeguard and promote constitutionalism and the rule of law, our constitutional commissions and independent offices have evolved to discharge their mandate in accordance with the Constitution and in the most constructive manner in support of good governance. The IEBC, Commission for Revenue Allocation, the Salaries Remuneration Commission, among many, have lived up to their constitutional expectations and Kenyans' aspirations. Today, there is much to celebrate about the strides we have made for the last 6 decades. The democratic credentials of our political culture are solid, and our institutional maturity beyond any doubt. Fellow countrymen and women, 60 years ago, we certainly were far from where we are today. The progress we have made is undeniable. Our peers we have undertaken to build 3,500 additional classrooms in the city of Nairobi, with the first 1 billion allocated in this year's budget. And we are going to work with all members of parliament to make sure that the city of Nairobi, the seat of government and the pride of our nation, does not leave any child behind when it comes to education. Agriculture, ladies and gentlemen, plays a central and pivotal role in our economy, contributing to food security, supplying raw materials for our agro-processing and value addition and manufacturing for domestic and market and export markets, creating jobs, and also creating wealth. Only specific, targeted, and deliberate interventions will enhance our agricultural productivity and overall production. This began with the registration of farmers, provision of crop-specific fertilizers, reforms in the tea, coffee, sugarcane, and edible oil sector, provisions of mobile dryers, and other interventions underway across the nation so as to reduce the cost of food, which consumes 56% of household incomes, to reduce by half our food import bill, which today stands at Kenya shillings 500 billion, and also to increase our exports. Further, 400 fresh produce markets, including 20 in the city of Nairobi, 47 county aggregation industrial parks, as well as 6 special economic zones, are under various stages of implementation to enhance value addition, agro-processing, and manufacturing, and also to stimulate economic growth in every part of Kenya. Economic productivity and general well-being are significantly hampered by a population that is prone to ill health. Individual and family medical expenditure drain household incomes and erode family savings, in many cases leading to financial ruin and destitution. Fellow countrymen, our universal health coverage plan seeks a paradigm shift in the provision of healthcare from curative to a largely preventive and promotive approach. Our radical transformative plan has seen the enactment of 4 acts of parliament, which I thank our legislature, as well as the rollout of 100,000 community health promoters, for which I thank all county government for participating. I commend counties who have already paid community health promoters their stipends and commit that the national government will pay our portion beginning the end of this month. The laws we have enacted now provide a framework in the Emergency, Chronic, and Critical Illness Fund that will liberate the people of Kenya from the burden of catastrophic hospital bills in the treatment of conditions like cancer, diabetes, hypertension, and other critical and chronic conditions. Additionally, the new funding model that is fair, equitable, and progressive will see the government of Kenya, for the first time, pay the cost of health insurance for all vulnerable Kenyans who have no ability to pay. Those currently paying 500 will have their contributions reduced, with the least paying Kenya shillings 300. To enhance efficiency and eliminate pilferage in the healthcare system, the new digital law will underpin the digitization of the entire health service delivery framework. While empirical evidence, ladies and gentlemen, shows us that economic growth has the potential to create jobs, and the measures enumerated above will create opportunities for employment, these interventions on their own will not create the kind and scale of employment needed to deal with unemployment in Kenya today. For employment and job creation to be at the scale necessary to make a significant dent on our unemployment status, and deal effectively with prevailing challenges, our interventions must be ambitious and systematic, consistent and intentional, as well as deliberate and progressive. Kenyans, our housing program is fundamentally a massive, deliberate and systematic job creation mechanism. Apart from the thousands of direct employment opportunities in construction and associated services, the housing housing scheme directly supports the formal and informal manufacturing of materials, fixtures, fittings, and accessories required in construction. Those employed range from architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, site workers, artisans, fabricators, electricians, plumbers, and many more. The housing program is a bottom-up job creator. There are 33 active housing development sites already employing 120,000 people in various parts of the country. Another 31 sites are undergoing evaluation to begin construction next month. Other sites in various stages of design across the country. By next year, the entire country, in our estimation, will be a bustling construction site with housing projects proceeding in every county and every constituency. Our strategic focus is to construct hundreds of thousands of housing units while creating millions of jobs across Kenya. Remember, South Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia undertook these major housing works some 40 years ago, and that is why their economies, among many other factors, are ahead of us. Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I signed into law amendments to the National Government County Constituency Development Fund Act, which set out a framework to anchor the development of ICT hubs in each of the 1,450 wards in the country. I salute members of Parliament for the partnership to expand our digital superhighway infrastructure to provide training opportunities and create thousands of digital job opportunities for young people across Kenya. We are also rolling out Ladies and gentlemen, I signed into law amendments to the National Government County Constituency Development Fund Act, which set out a framework to anchor the development of ICT hubs in each of the 1,450 wards in the country. I salute members of Parliament for the partnership to expand our digital superhighway infrastructure to provide training opportunities and create thousands of digital job opportunities for young people across Kenya. We are also rolling out training and digital job opportunities in our TVETs countywide. Already, 23,000 computers have been distributed, with many students now monetizing their skills online in our TVET institutions. We are also in discussion with county governments to jointly expand vocational training centers to accommodate ICT hub infrastructure so as to enhance the digital jobs footprint across Kenya. The digital job ecosystem, ladies and gentlemen, we are building is an intentional, dynamic, and innovative mechanism to create jobs in the technology and digital space. We have dedicated specific attention to infrastructure development to promote connectivity through a nationwide network of transport and communication infrastructure, actualize the constitutional right to clean and safe water in adequate quantities as enshrined in the Article 43 of the Constitution, and connect all Kenyans to electricity across the country. On Jamuhuri Day last year, I announced a grand plan to transform Kenyan sports and creatives into a significant industry to expand livelihoods opportunities for our youth through the government flagship Talanta Hela initiative, which we officially unveiled in June this year. Our sportsmen and women continue to make our country proud with their conquest far and wide. Our women volleyball, and men's rugby teams have qualified for the Paris Olympics in 2024. Our athletes continue to excel at various global events, as is well exemplified by the shining performance in the long and middle distance races. Today, I have conferred upon our world-beating committed to helping creators in Kenya earn money for crafting original content. Following a pilot program with eligible creators in the country, Meta will be expanding monetization opportunities and allowing more creators to earn a living doing what they love. Kenya possesses impressive credentials as a source of highly professional human capital with highly educated, trained, skilled, and dynamic young people. All our young and aspiring athletes, I equally salute Ferdinando Manyala, Mary Mora, Kevin Kiptum, Emmanuel Wanyonyi, Faith Cherotich, who have also registered their presence in the world stage, and they too will be featured. This administration has also taken deliberate steps to build and invest in the creative economy. First, the famous Grammy Awards have a partnership with us, and starting January, the Innovation Studios of Hollywood have agreed to begin shooting multiple movie rights here to the development of Kenya. Ndugu wa Kenya, Kenya remains committed to driving climate action, and I am proud that we can play a significant role shaping the climate agenda on the continent. We have demonstrated leadership, which has been recognized both on the continent and beyond, and we must continue to play our part both domestically and on the global stage. Recently, I launched the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative in partnership with the United Arab Emirates and several other African heads of states at COP28 in Dubai. The goal of the initiative is to enable businesses to build rapidly in Kenya using our renewable energy resources and across our continent. In keeping with our commitment, ladies and gentlemen, to correct the market failure in the provision of affordable credit, especially to those who have no access to any collateral, and to free millions of Kenyans trapped in the credit rating maze, the Hustler Fund has grown to become the largest financial inclusion program in Kenya, dispersing Kenya's shillings 42 billion to more than 21 million borrowers across Kenya. A week ago, we celebrated the Hustler Fund's first anniversary. Borrowers on the fund have saved Kenya's shillings 2 billion with a repayment rate of 75% nationally. As promised, we have already enhanced credit limits for over 1.2 million borrowers and spent 500 million to match long-term savings on a ratio of Kenya shillings 1 for every Kenya shillings 2 saved. At the end of this month, just in a few days, every saver will be paid an attractive interest rate of 12% on all their savings. Over 7.7 million people are regular borrowers on the Hustler Fund platform. The fund will be enhanced from next month with specific financial products to provide additional enterprise and business facilities for existing Mama Mboga and Boda SACCOs across Kenya. We undertook to build a culture of savings in Kenya as an effort to create long-term investment resources fund our growth and development and provide better retirement for working Kenyans. The new NSSF contribution model has enhanced monthly contributions by 4.5 times. Consequently, the fund will raise an additional 400 billion in the next 5 years, tripling the value of the fund from 300 billion to over 1 trillion by 2027. Furthermore, our countrymen and women no longer have to wait for over 3 months to receive their retirement benefits. Owing to the digitization and automation, NSSF benefit processing turnaround time has improved significantly from an average of 82 days to 10 days, and with a further reduction envisaged in processing period to come down to 1 day by next year. We are also undertaking the expansion of retirement benefits coverage to 15 million Kenyans currently active in the informal sector through product innovation and bottom-up enrollment strategies at the grassroots level. Ladies and gentlemen, we made a commitment to our dear citizens who are elderly, orphaned, and those who live with severe disability that they shall receive their social protection stipends before public servants, including the president, receive their salaries. We have kept our word and delivered on this commitment. Consequently, all the 1,200,000 eligible beneficiaries now receive their stipends on time before we are all paid as public servants. We have, however, allocated an additional 2 billion shillings for newly enrolled beneficiaries who are undergoing verification at the moment, and we will begin to disburse their stipends by 1st March next year. This program has had challenges with the beneficiaries traveling long distances and spending considerable portions of their stipend on logistics. Working with Safaricom, we have structured a new delivery mechanism for all our stipend-earning beneficiaries to receive their stipends from M-Pesa agents in their localities. Orphans and persons living with severe disability will begin using this new mechanism this month in a few days. The elderly will, however, start in January because the process is being finalized. I commend Safaricom for demonstrating corporate patriotism and providing this service free of charge. Ndugu wa Kenya, Kenyans are doing their part to support the effort to stabilize and grow our economy. Their sacrifices and contributions are essential and must be honored. We are therefore taking strong measures to ensure that all public resources are administered transparently, efficiently, and in a secure manner. One of our best interventions is the use of digital technology and the migration of all government services and revenue collection to a single pay bill. Since this measure was implemented, we have witnessed a significant rise in total revenues collected. Besides enhancing revenue collection, digitization has eliminated revenue leakage through corruption and theft. It is most important that we sustain this progress in promoting integrity, transparency, and efficiency in resource management. And for this reason, I direct that all agencies observe the December 31st deadline to finalize the migration to e-citizen platform. It is only right that I match this admirable commitment by the people of Kenya to do their part in getting the economy going and give an assurance that all taxes collected by Kenya.
Sisi sote wananchi tushangilie, tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu, tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Haya, sisi sote wananchi tushangilie kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Haya, sisi sote wananchi tushangilie kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri, kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Twaenda mbio, Kenya yaenda mbele, twaenda mbele, matibabu twaenda mbele, viwandani twaenda mbele, na mashambani twaenda mbele. Tunajivunia Kenya nchi yetu, kweli yapendeza, kweli yavutia. Tunajivunia Kenya nchi yetu, kweli yapendeza, kweli yavutia. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoloza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoloza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. Ziwa la Victoria linaunganisha Kenya na Uganda, Kenya na Tanzania. Vita Mombasa, vitoa bahari, ogelea maji, jua tamu kupata. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoloza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. Kenya nchi yangu nitaitoloza, nitailinda maishani mwangu. PPMC Production. Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda. Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka, Kenya nchi yenye baraka, Kenya nchi yenye baraka. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya kupendeza, kamwe hatutaiacha, kamwe Kenya hatutaiacha, kamwe Kenya hatutaiacha. Mwenzangu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima. Mwenzangu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima. Kenya kipenzi chetu, nchi yenye upendo, hatutaacha Kenya daima na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, mambo nitarudi. Sitadanganya kamwe na wageni, wala sitapotoshwa na wabaya. Sitasaliti Kenya nchi yangu, na majirani wangu nitalinda. Wenzangu, wenzangu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima. Wenzangu, Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele daima. Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda.
Anzishwa ni vipindi kama vile tahamaki, vituko. Je, huu ni ungwana? Kadhalika na vipindi kama vile tausi ambayo uliandaliwa na akiwemo Rukia.
Waja huwa mwatakaje kumgonga Lindi ni vibaya, si ni kumrekebisha? Angalia saizi mahali yuko ni mtu wa kutajika. Huyu mama wa kambo naye sijui baba kamtoa wapi.
Asante Rukia maridadi. Na vile vile hatuwezi tukamsahau hapa basi bila shaka pale mzee Ojwanga kwenye kipindi Vitimbi. Mzee Ojwanga ishi na Mungu na akamuweke pahali pema peponi. Ala, baadaye hapo bishi ndipo kuweza kuchomoka kipindi cha Vionja Mahakamani. Shasha
Makwa, leo ni siku ya Jamhuri bwana, national holiday. Alafu navaa nguo ni kama imetoka kwa mdomo ya ng'ombe. Kukuja kujana. Ndio kunjana kita. Wewe uone mimi ni Mkenya bwana. Uone nimevaa mpaka tai ya Kenya. I'm more than patriotic than you. Ninakubali my brother. What you mean? Happy Jamhuri Day. Kabisa. Ati mzuri bwana.
Asanta Makoha. Na umetukumbusha marehemu Papa Chirandra. Manzi Papa Chirandra, Mungu bishi na akamweke pahali pema peponi. Ingawaja alituacha, alituachia mjane wake Will Berada.
Mtukufu Rais, kama vile umesikia, mimi ni mjane, niko single, niko vacant, yani sina mutu. Mtukufu Rais, uko na marafiki zako ambao wako single kama mimi, hata kwa cabinet uko nao. Mtukufu Rais, unikumbuke Baba, unapowazuru wengine naomba unikumbuke.
Barabara. Na hapo hatimaye bishi ndipo kuweza kukuingilia kipindi ambacho kinajulikana kama vile Mother in Law. Na kwa hiki kipindi tunakuja kupata madam fulani ambaye anakuaga mkali zaidi, ikafanya hadi watu wakamuita dictator.
No. I am not dictatorial. I am a disciplinarian. And by the way, I am a born again Christian.
Asanta. Huu wote bishi ni usanii, na usije ukasahau usanii ni njia moja ya vijana kujitengenezea kazi wao wenyewe na harakadharaka bishi kuweza kujenga taifa. Hapo basi napo ndipo baadaye akachomoka jamaa aliye mrefu zaidi.
Mtukufu Live, nikiwa mbele yako, mimi ni Inspector Mwala, nimehudumu kikosi kwa miaka mingi, nina uzoefu wa kutosha. Ninachokuomba kwa sasa ni kuwa uniteue kama mkuu wa kitengo chako cha presidential escort. Asante sana.
Asanta Inspector mrefu zaidi. Wewe najua ni unasimamishaga ndege unaangalia kama ziko na insurance. Asanta. Lakini all the same hapa basi akakuingilia kipindi kinachojulikana kama vile Churchill Show, kipindi na ambacho kiliweza hapa basi kuwasaidia vijana wengi zaidi kupata riziki na kazi, ikiwemo Captain Otoyo, mtumishi na mchungaji.
I have just landed. Your Excellency the President, this is your captain speaking. My name is Captain Otoyo. Kenya is flying at 60. We are 60 years old today. What? Si tumeseeka. Tumeseeka mpaka inchi zingine sinakuja hapa kuona vile inchi msee inakaa. But old is gold.
Asante Yesu.
Asante mwami.
Mutumishi.
Mchungaji.
Papa unijaze roho niweze kumushinda shetani. Papa unijaze roho niweze kumushinda shetani. Timu ya mpira ikiitwa Liverpool, nikani itaitwa Matumbo Pulu. Mwenyezi Mungu bariki rais.
Barabara. Asanta. Hatimaye basi sasa usanii ukaweza kuingia kwenye disaini za kisasa, ama ukipenda usanii wa kidijitali, yani social media.
Yes, mimi ndio demu wa Facebook. Mimi ndio mtu wa kwanza kuingia kwa Facebook huko kwetu Shamahoho. Na kama uamini, ulizi yako Sabu Chief ni follow.
Na hapa nchini kuna mcheza filamu mmoja amejitokeza na njia zake za kipekee, anajulikana kama vile Papa Freddy, ama ukipenda Ngamwaya.
Bonjour Président, Excellency. Comme j'aime Papa Fred, minga fa business legit Nairobi na international. Nguo kemikali yangu special. Kama ngapata pesa kidogo, minga mwaya ile kemikali ndani ya pesa, tapata pesa bingi. Singalipa deni IMF, ngalipa deni World Bank. Kama pesa ngabaki, singagawana Kenya mzima, kila mtu 2 million. Wewe kama ngapenda idea, piga telefone yangu. Tufanye business legit baba.
Kenya at 60. Mwisho. Commissioner wa Command Selector, the top ranking DJ, ranking Afro Makers.
Mama Kenya, mama umewaka sana, tuko sisi sasa, mama umekazana. Hai mama, hai Kenya nakupenda, hai mama, ninakupenda.
Maisha yetu kuwa blessed, mama Kenya you're the best, tuongozwe na mapenzi pamoja tulie. Mama Kenya wewe uko wima, umesimama wapendeza. Kide umesimama.
Ewe Mungu wa hekima, utupe nguvu yoyo tusimame wima, utupe imani, maziwa na mazao, ardhi yangamani na nchi ya thamani yoyo, ukabila na ufisadi wewe, ubaguzi yoyo, tuishi kwa amani. Kenya wewe mama umesimama wapendeza. Umesimama. Raisi wetu twakuombea hekima, uyafanikishe maono ulionayo, na Kenya yetu izidi kutambulika, na si wa Kenya tuzidi kujivunia. Kenya yetu Kenya, nchi yangu Kenya, Kenya yetu Kenya, Kenya yetu Kenya, amani tuzidi dumisha, maendeleo tuzidi yaona, upendo na umoja, haki, utu na hadhi. Kenya izidi inuka, Wakenya tupate heshima, Kenya ipate manufaa zaidi, tuzidi kung'aa. Kenya wewe mama, umesimama. Hey, Kenya, umoja ni nguvu. Together we you are champion.
Stunning. Champion vibes. Kutoka ghetto sio ngumu, lazima uwe na form. Piga mishe utameki odo. Kutoka ghetto sio ngumu, lazima uwe na form. Piga mishe utameki odo. Wakisema hautameki asala, hii dunia ni duara, chapa kazi. Wakisema hautameki asala, hii dunia ni duara, chapa kazi. Chenga kama choboka kama Kipyego na Kipchoge. Cheki Lupita Nyong'o, Wanyama naye ni champion. Carry on, oh yes I'm a champion. 1 in a million. Kenyans are champion. 1 in a million. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. 1 in a million. Oh yes, we are champions. Love champion of million.
Some say that you could have never make it out of the poverty. They're not know your priority. When they give up life, what them say, Jaja bless me with sanity. We turning dreams to reality. When you put your eyes on the prize, you won't be very long before the mama realize. Enough for them, a bad man, them have to criticize. And can't stop us, that's how you steady on the rise. Yeah. When you put your eyes on the prize, you won't be very long before the mama realize. Enough for them, a bad man, them have to criticize. And can't stop us, that's how you steady on the rise. Yeah.
I'm a champion. Oh yes, I'm a champion. One in a million. Kenyans a champion. One in a million. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. One in a million. Oh yes, we are champions. One in a million. Stand and let the sun shine bright. Yeah. Celebrate tonight, fly up to the highest high and sing. I'm a Kenyan champion, dance, let it rain all night. I'm a champion. Celebrate tonight, fly up to the highest high and sing. I'm a Kenyan champion. I'm a Kenyan champion. I'm a Kenyan champion. Yeah, I'm a champion. I'm a Kenyan champion. Would you ever think to be a champion? Would you ever start to win big in your life? Would you ever think to be one in a billion? Billion. Would you ever think to be a champion? Would you ever think you win big in your life? Would you ever think to be one in a billion? Billion. I come from the land of champions.